Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to my Sims 4 speedbuilding video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building the world of Sequoia, which is the world that we got from the expansion pack of Sims 4 Growing Together, and I'm going to be building some accessible family housing. So this lot ends up being almost like an apartment complex building that ends up being 4 different, I'm going to call it like a mini apartment on the inside, where 4 different families or 4 different groups of Sims that could stay together. And on the whole bottom portion of this lot, I tried to make it some sort of like community space where all the different families staying in this building could come together and have a chit chat and just spend some time with each other. Now today's video is a very special one to me because this video is part of a fundraiser that I'm currently doing for Great Ormond Street Hospital, which is a children's charity here in the UK. Now Great Ormond Street Hospital, or GOSH for short, you might hear me refer to it as GOSH, it's just an abbreviation for Great Ormond Street Hospital, but it is a children's hospital in London that treats sick children, but then it also helps support the children's families, because the charity itself provides these families with this free accommodation to ensure that there is no financial burden whatsoever on the families that are staying in these types of accommodation whilst their children are in hospital. The types of accommodation is very similar to the build that I'm currently doing. It's just basically somewhere where the families can stay only minutes away from their children, and the way that it's funded is through donations that people just like you will make to GOSH charity. Now these types of free accommodation that GOSH provides is basically just a place where the patients' families can sleep, they can eat, they can shower, they can just overall just take care of themselves, just knowing that their child is only a matter of minutes away. And again, there is no charge to these families because it is funded by donations. Now GOSH recently reached out to me and asked if I would like to participate in this GOSH charity building challenge in the game, where I basically had a bit of a brief to follow along with and try and create something very similar to what these type of families stay in here in the UK in London, and basically put it into the game. I will tell you a bit about the brief and I'll give you the whole rundown a little bit, but I did just want to mention that in the description of this video, and I'll also be pinning it to the comment section, I will have a link to a Tiltify page where you can donate. Now I do have a donation goal, and it will just mean the absolute world to me if you could help meet this donation goal with me, and we could fundraise together some money to help support these families at Great Ormond Street Hospital. Like I said, this type of accommodation that they stay in is funded by people like you. The families, they're never going to have the weight of a bill on their shoulders because of fundraisers like this one. They're never going to get charged. It's just somewhere that they can stay and they can sleep and eat and just overall just take care of themselves. Just knowing that their child is being treated in a hospital just a few minutes down the road. Now, no matter the size of your donation, whether it be a single pound, whether it be £5, £10, no matter the donation amount, quite literally everything counts and everything goes towards something. And so please don't feel like any donation is too little of a donation. If you're just in a position where you can help these families out, it would just be really amazing. Also, please don't feel pressured if you're not in a position where you cannot donate. I would never in a million years want you to donate and put yourself out, but if you are in a position where maybe you've got a spare couple of quid in your bank account or something, and yeah, it will mean a lot to these families, because like I said, they spend their time in this accommodation and they don't get charged for it. And the way that it's able to actually happen and the way that the charity works is through donations. But yeah, if you could donate anything, I'd love you to the end of the world. But as well as this, I am also currently hosting a giveaway for some Steam codes to kind of like run alongside this charity fundraiser. Now, Electronic Arts have been very kind to provide me with 3 different Steam codes for various different packs. I have a code for the Cottage Living expansion pack, I have a code for the Dream Home Decorator game pack, and then I also have a code for the Paranormal Stuff pack. Now, because of this, you might have noticed when this video first started that it was marked as a paid advertisement, or like a paid promotion. Now, just to be clear, no money was exchanged whatsoever from anyone for me to make this video. Where EA have been so lovely enough to provide me with some codes to give away to some of you guys, it is technically sponsored by Electronic Arts, and so thank thank you, EA, for being really lovely and gifting me some codes to, give away to some of you guys. But if you do want to participate in the giveaway, all you've got to do is comment down below the pack that you like and the pack that you would want to win, alongside with a little purple heart emoji. Then send me a message on either Instagram or Twitter, whatever's easiest for you. It's more so I can just contact you if you do win some sort of way, but I'm saying both social media networks just in case, you might not have Instagram or you might have Twitter. But, just send me a message somewhere alongside, again, with the purple heart emoji and what pack that you fancy. And, that way I can contact you if you do win. Now, I want to mention that I will be closing this giveaway on the 31st of May at 6 p.m. GMT time. So, I mean, that's roughly around, I say roughly, that's pretty much bang on a week from today. It's currently the 24th of May as I'm chatting to you. It's actually 2 p.m. I'm uploading this video later on. So, it's pretty much exactly a week from when I am posting this video, and so you've got a week to enter it. Like I said, all you've got to do is comment down below the pack that you want, and then also the purple emoji, and do the exact same thing in a private DM on either Instagram or on Twitter. But anyway, moving on from that and actually getting on and talking a little bit more about the build itself, and also actually the brief that I was given by Great Ormond Street to kind of build this sort of housing accommodation for these types of families. Now, I tried to stick to the brief to the best of my abilities, and I'm really happy with the way that this build came together and the way that it turned out, and just all the different little pieces that go into this lot, because I just tried to make it feel as realistic but then as homey as I could possible. There was kind of like some adjectives to kind of describe the type of accommodation that these families would stay in, and one of them was homey, the other one was accessible, and then there was light and airy, comfortable, and then also practical. Now, one of the things I really tried to take away and really tried to implement into the build that you're seeing right now is to make it so this building is accessible for all members of the family, and that is the reason why you might have seen at the very front of the lot I ended up making some sort of like wheelchair ramp. I'll speak more about it when we move over there, because currently I'm just doing this little outside area, but I end up making it so it's accessible for Sims that would be in wheelchairs. And you'll see as well, I end up making a wheelchair made out of various different, to be honest, quite random objects, but I popped it in front of the little wheelchair ramp. But that was one thing that I really wanted to take away from this brief, just try and make it so this building is accessible. And you're also probably thinking, well, hang on, you've built like a 3-story building, like I placed down elevator lifts as well on the inside, which I never really do that, but it felt like it was very fitting for this particular build. But as well as that, on the brief, it says that these type of accommodations would have some sort of like community area, somewhere where families that are going through a very similar thing at Great Ormond Street could kind of like come together and chat about their experiences. And so that is the reason why on the downstairs portion of this lot, I made it so there is a massive kitchen, anyone could use it. There ends up being 2 ovens, a fridge, a massive dining room table. We then also end up having like a little games room, and then we also end up having a really like warm and comfortable looking communal sofa room, or like little lounge TV space. I tried to follow along with the brief as best as I could when I was building all the different rooms and all the different spaces. But one of the things was to have some sort of like communal living space, so I tried to implement that with the different almost like adjectives that I was given. So I tried to make it homey and warm and just comfortable, but then also still make it practical. And also when I was building, I was also trying to think about the Sims 4 gameplay in terms of this. And so you would have just seen on the exterior, I just finished up the outdoor kind of like playground space, because in the brief it also mentioned that it wanted to have some sort of like outdoor space. And so I thought, well, a lovely way to do that would be to build some sort of like park almost on the outside. And so that is exactly what I did. Now I'm only mentioning this because you might be thinking you placed a barbecue in there, which real life probably not the best idea to put a barbecue in a park, but in The Sims for gameplay I feel like that might be quite handy to have. And so there is a little seating area out there, a little barbecue, as well as some monkey bars, and then also a little toddler slide. But currently you can see that I've now moved over and I've started building the wheelchair. Now you can see the wheelchair ramp, what I was talking about, just behind the wheelchair. It's just a bit of roof, which I think done something like this before in the game, where I've made a roof look like a slope, or at least I know I've definitely attempted it before. But I basically just built the house itself, I built the building itself, and then when I raised it up, I placed down a staircase on one side, and then on the other side I just popped down one of them, I don't know what it's called, and I should at this point know all the different roof terminology in the game, but unfortunately I don't. But it's the roof piece that is just kind of like slanted, if you're following along with me. I placed that down, and then I painted it to be some sort of like concrete looking pavement colour. It's actually just the roof tile pattern, but I painted it, and then I ever so slightly, using the Alt key, levelled it down so the top of a slope would meet where the foundation is, and yeah, it kind of looks like a little wheelchair ramp. But currently over here, I'm just coming in and building the wheelchair itself. I'm so happy with the way that this wheelchair ended up turning out. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfect, but I mean, I'm really proud of it, and I feel like if you was to look at it at a quick glance, at least you'd think, that's a wheelchair. But I do want to mention, by the way, that this wheelchair itself was very inspired by another YouTuber, actually, under the name RG Tech. Now, I was looking at the gallery just to see if anyone had previously, made some sort of like wheelchair in the game and popped it in the gallery. And they did, and the build that I've done is very much inspired by their own wheelchair build. I could have just used their one, but I just kind of wanted to give it a go myself, seeing if I could actually, pull off a wheelchair in the game. Now, the way that I actually built it is made of a combination of so many different random objects, but I feel like it works. So I started off with this chair, which the chair is from the High School Years expansion pack. I believe it's meant to be some sort of classroom chair, but I basically plopped it down, and then just by one level up, I moved it into the air ever so slightly, just because I wanted to really give the illusion that it is a wheelchair, and it is being supported by the wheels that I popped either side of it. Now, the wheels themselves, they're just tyres that we got from the Eco Lifestyle Live edit menu, but you might have noticed when I pulled them out, initially they were kind of like laying down flat onto the ground, but I'm using something called the tool mod, which you see the little menu that pops up and it says tool extension. It's basically a mod in the game where you can modify and manipulate and rotate and scale up and scale down objects. You can basically just play around with all the different objects in the game and rotate them in funny ways and stuff. But I basically popped down these little tyres from Eco Lifestyle and then rotated them 90 degrees to make them act like the wheels for this wheelchair. I then needed to find something to put on the inside of it, and you would have seen I had a bit of a faff trying to find what was going to fit inside of the actual tyres itself, because when you pull the tyres out of the catalogue, they're just empty. It's just rubber. There is nothing inside of it. And so, yeah, I had a bit of a faff trying to figure out what to actually put on the inside of them. But in the end, I went for these base game wall lights, more so because on the back portion of the actual light itself, it's nice and flat. So on the inside of each wheel, I just placed down 2 wall lights, but I just rotated them so then you couldn't see like the light bulb portion if you're following along with me. But then as well as that, I use this structure piece that we got from the Get Together expansion pack. It was that white L thing that you would have seen me playing about with loads of times. I tried to use it as like the armrest, but then also the actual support structure for the wheelchair. I then ended up rotating 2 pieces in either ways and then making it look like it was the handles. I also ended up using it on like the bottom portion of the chair, and I tried to make it look like there was somewhere where if a sim was sitting in that wheelchair where their feet would rest, because you would have seen on kind of like the end of it. I then ended up placing down 2 little tiny vents. We got them from the Journey to Batuu game pack, but I basically plopped down 2 vents to make it look like, yeah, some sort of like space where your Sims could rest their feet if they're in the wheelchair. And then I think the last thing that I added was 2 bins on the end of what I meant to make look like handles. So then it looks like there's somewhere where your Sims, if they were pushing someone in a wheelchair, they've got like a nice comfy area for their hands to go. It actually looked like that took me a matter of minutes, but I've just realised that it's sped up. I thought I had more time to talk about the wheelchair, I'm not going to lie to you, but the wheelchair itself, honestly, it took me about 25 minutes. Actually, no, it was 26 minutes of recorded footage that I had for just the wheelchair alone, but I'm just so happy with the way it turned out. And yeah, I feel like it does look like an actual wheelchair, but either way, moving on from that, as you can see, I have now moved on into the inside of the building. So I started off by like the initial entrance hallway where your Sims walking through the front door. We just have like the elevator, we have the stairs, we have like a nice little armchair that your Sims can pop down onto. But now I've moved over into the big kind of like communal kitchen area. So even though this is technically kind of like a community space where loads of different Sims would use it, I tried to make it feel as homey as I could possible. So in here, you'll notice, not only just in this room, but then throughout the rest of the rooms in this build, I went for a lot of green. which to me, green is quite a homey colour. And so I either use like green furniture pieces or green wallpaper or something. I use a lot of the green counters from the Home Chef Hustle Stuff pack. It's the ones that I've used in this kitchen, but I also use them in like little kitchen spaces in the individual rooms, because I haven't even mentioned, by the way that I kind of built the rooms in this community venue lot, or like this commercial housing for Sims. I tried to make it so there is the community space downstairs. You know, your Sims, they can come together as one, they can spend time with other families, but if they want to maybe just have a little bit of alone time, they can go upstairs and they can cook some sort of meal upstairs. They've got kind of like a little kitchen area space. All of them have a bathroom. They've all got like their own little individual bedrooms. The idea that I had is if they want some alone time, they can do that in their own separate space, but if they want to maybe spend time with others, they can also do that in spaces like this downstairs. And so yeah, I just tried to have like a nice mixture in this build. But in the kitchen / dining room, we have the kitchen counters, we have one fridge, we have 2 ovens. I'm thinking that maybe a few different families want to cook at once. I also end up placing down a little kettle, and then quite close near to the end of the kitchen, I remembered that a microwave might be quite good, because I wanted this build to be accessible for all members of the family, including age ranges. And so you'll notice when we go through all the different rooms in this complex, I have rooms that are decorated for, in the Sims terms, object babies, or I've got rooms decorated for toddlers or infants or children. Like, I tried to make it so all different ages in the Sims were kind of included in this lot. And so I remembered a microwave might be really handy, because a lot of toddler food you cook in the microwave. And so yeah, I popped down a little microwave in there. And then around the dining room table, I then also placed down 2 high chairs, which I did initially forget to do, because to be honest, I don't really place them down into my builds that often, because in my own personal gameplay experience, Sims never keep their toddlers in the higher chair, or if they've got infants, they never keep them in there. And so I normally do forget, but in this build, yeah, no, I did include them. But either way, as you can see, just off the little dining room area, there was a small little downstairs bathroom. Now, I was just thinking, just for easy access, if you're downstairs and you need a wee or something, you can just quickly pop into the communal bathroom downstairs. But like I said, every single little like apartment unit within this building has their own ensuite, but it was just one that anyone could use. I placed down a bathroom stool into that one. I think the one that I've used is from Discover University off memory, but now as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the gaming room. So in here, I used an object which admittedly I actually forget we've got in the game. It's the one that is orange and yellow. It's from the Parenthood game pack, and fun fact, pretty much all members of the family, apart from infants, I've never tested it with infants, but like toddlers and children and parents, teenagers, they can basically sit around this table and build blocks together. I just thought it was so perfect for this build, and so I decided to pop it down into this little games room. We also end up having a ping pong table, which, can you see that I've placed down some ping pong mats, and then I sized down, you know the Nifty knitting stuff pack where your Sims can knit? We've got some like balls of yarn. I sized down a white ball of yarn, really small in terms of like ping pong ball size, because we don't have any plain white balls in the game. Like, I looked at cats and dogs toys and we didn't have any plain white ones, and so I thought if I sized down a yarn ball really small, it kind of looks like a ping pong ball. And yeah, that's exactly what I did. And then I just popped it on to the little pool table. But also in that room as well, we have like a little seating area, we have a tiny little bookcase, we then also end up having like a little toy box and stuff. But now moving over, you can see that I've now moved on into the next room, which is kind of like the communal living area space. So in here, I decided to go for this sofa, the 3-seater one, which is from the High School Years expansion pack. It had a bit of green in it, and it was perfect, because like I said, to me, green is quite homey, and I was trying to implement a lot of different green things in this build, but I popped that down. And then I was going to use a matching one on the other side of the room, but the room was a little bit too small to be able to make it look like it comfortably sat between that space, and it didn't look like it was just squished in. And so then I decided to opt for a little 2-seater love seat. The one that I've used is from the book nook kit. And then on one side of that, I placed down again another little bookcase. I placed down this little lamp that looks like it's got like a fox or something on it. I then popped some magazines and some glasses and random clutter, just random little bits and bobs. I then in front of it placed down this basket, which I believe is meant to be pretend infant toys. It's just decoration. Sims can't actually interact with it, but we got it with the base game update when we got infants added to the game. And so I was thinking, or maybe the majority of the toys that maybe the kids would play with in this room I just kept in that lovely little woven basket. And so yeah, I popped that into the corner. And then in front of the sofa areas, I wanted there to be somewhere where your Sims could kind of like come together and maybe watch something to get their mind off things. And so I placed down a base game TV, and then the little side table that I've used underneath it. It's actually one that we got from the Dream Home Decorator game pack. I could honestly count on one hand the amount of times that I've used that side table, but I don't know, I just felt like it really went with the rest of the room. Maybe it's because I had like a nice little white side table and then like a nice little tiny bookcase. It was just, I don't know, I just felt like it went. And so I decided to put that underneath the TV. I then placed down a record player with some records and then some like storybooks and then a plant and just general bits and bobs, general just kind of like clutter to make it feel, you know, like Sims actually use this space. And then in the corner, we have this really big square window, which, by the way, the views that this housing place has is beautiful because where I'm building the world of Sequoia, you've got a massive body of water looking out from the inside. So if your Sims were to stay here, they've got some beautiful views. But I was thinking that big square window, I could place down some modular bookcases either side of it, and then in the middle, I could like put in a little love seat, so then it's kind of like a little reading nook. But then I was thinking, well, I've already got a number of different bookcases already just in the downstairs alone. One, I place something else that's a little bit more, you know, adds a little bit more gameplay than just reading a book. And so I decided to add this game table. The one that I've used is from the little campus kit, and I just popped around 3 little chairs in kind of like the matching colours. And yeah, your Sims can do puzzles there, they can play cards there, they can play, I can't remember where it is off the memory. I think it's Symbols, but it's basically like the Sims version of dominoes. Your Sims can play on that table. And so, yeah, I just thought it'd be lovely to add into that little room. But now, as you can see, I've now moved on to the upstairs portion. And I'm currently just decorating this outside hallway where your Sims, if they come out of the pretend lift, would kind of exit into. Now, the thing is, the way The Sims 4 works, you can place down an elevator into your Sims' houses. But for some reason, you can only place down one, which doesn't really make much sense to me because where's the elevator going to go if you can't have one upstairs? Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand that. And so with placing down the lift on the bottom portion, on like where your Sims would enter through into this building, I knew that on the upstairs I kind of wanted to follow through with that idea. Like I said, coming into this build, I really wanted to make it so it was accessible to all different types of family members. And so I thought, well, I can't actually place down a second lift because I've already got one downstairs. I'm going to pretend to have a lift. And so you would have seen in the hallway space, I've got these double doors that look like they've got some glass panels in them. And then on one side of it, I sized down this base game wall decoration object. And then it also sized down 2 little, they're kind of like balls that are a wall decoration. I tried to make it look like buttons basically for the elevator. I then popped a little clock on the top of these pretend doors that I was thinking could be the lift, and yeah, it's like a make-do lift in the game. I really wish that I could have added an elevator onto every single floor, but I purposely placed it in the exact same placement where the elevator would be on the downstairs. So in my head, for gameplay, that elevator just goes up and then the little doors open and then your Sims can like walk in or walk out or something. But either way, as you can see, I have now moved over into the first almost like little apartment space. So this apartment is probably the biggest one out of all 4 of them. We end up having a space for a set of parents, a infant, and then also 2 children. Now for each of these different apartment rooms, I tried to make it so, like I said, if your Sims wanted to, they could go downstairs, they could use the community aspects, they could use the communal kitchen, but then maybe they just want to have a little bit of alone time, maybe they're not feeling very chatty on one particular day. I felt like it was quite important to still have them home amenities on the inside of their space, and so I made it so every single one has a tiny little kitchen area. The majority of them have some sort of like sofa seating area kind of thing, but I must admit, one of the rooms that I make, or one of the apartments, is quite small, but I just tried to do the best that I could. Now each of the kitchens in these, I'm gonna call them hybrid apartments. To be fair, the one that I'm currently decorating is probably the most apartment out of all of them, but in this space where your Sims, you know, if they need to, they can sleep, they can eat, they can shower, they can just kind of like care for their own needs. In the little kitchen spaces, I didn't make it like a full fleshed out kitchen. I just tried to give your Sims enough stuff so they could kind of make a meal if they want to. There's a kind of little tiny mini fridge. There is the Dream Home Decorator on top oven. I don't know what it's called. Do you know what it's called? We got it from the Dream Home Decorator game pack, and it's basically a grill or an oven, but your Sims put it on the countertop. Honestly, I don't think I've ever used it before, but it was kind of ideal and kind of perfect for this particular build. And so, you know, I popped them into, I'm pretty sure, every single apartment, but also in like the living room, kitchen space in this apartment, I ended up placing down a tiny little dining room table with 4 chairs around it. That also ends up being like a little TV area, placed down a sofa, a bookcase. I did try and place down some gameplay things into it, so I placed down, you know, the Nifty Knit and Stuff pack where your Sims can knit. We've got like a ball of yarn, which if your Sims put it in their inventory, they can start knitting. I placed that down into the room, and then also placed down the little crocheting box that we got from the Cottage Living expansion pack. I'm just thinking it just adds more gameplay. It just gives your Sims some more things to do. But then, as well as that, you would have just seen, I just quickly finished up the parents' bedroom of this apartment. The parents' bedroom ends up having a double bed, which is from Dream Home Decorator game pack, and then also a travel cot, which I'm not sure if it's actually a travel cot, but to me it kind of looks like a travel cot. I believe we got it from the Growing Together expansion pack, or it's either that or the base game, but honestly I've never even used it before. But it was one of them things that was just kind of like perfect for this type of build, and so yeah, I decided to pop it in there. Maybe recently the family that is living in this particular space had a baby or something, and so the charity gave them a make do travel cot or something. But something that I wanted to mention, for each of the parents' rooms in every single apartment, apart from one of them I believe, I tried to place down the same Dream Home Decorator bed, but I just tried to do it in different colour swatches, because in my mind, something like this, you wouldn't find different bed frames in this sort of like housing situation. I feel like you'd probably just have the same sort of like bed situation, bed frame, but then maybe you just have different colour sheets. That's my idea of thinking anyway. And so in each one of the parents' bedrooms, I either tried to use the same double bed or the single bed version of that bed, and so you'll see that as we go throughout the rest of the build. But as you would have just seen, I just did the second bedroom in this apartment, which was kind of decorated towards either children or potentially teenagers. In there, I did decide to place down the infant playmat, because I don't know if you would have noticed, but when I was decorating like the parent/infant room, I couldn't find the right place to place down the infant mat, and I didn't want to delete the changing table, because in my mind it's quite necessary to have somewhere proper for your Sims to be able to change the infant's nappy. And so I decided to place down, yeah, the infant's playmat, but just in the kids' room. At least it's somewhere in the build. I just couldn't make it fit in the parents' room. But also as well, you would have just quickly seen me do one of the bathrooms in this complex. Now, where I'm decorating 4 different units, if you want to put it that way, I had 4 different bathrooms to decorate, but like always, I only show you the furnishing for one, because bathrooms are quite boring to decorate, and I feel like they can be quite repetitive. And so, yeah, that was the bathroom situation. All of them are quite similar. I ended up placing down some really fun, like, bathroom decals into each of the bathrooms. I tried to place down, like, whales onto the walls, or, like, little turtles and bubbles and coral, and just make it so the bathrooms in this housing complex are like fun and kind of like catered towards the children. But either way, as you can see, I've now moved over to the next apartment hybrid situation, and this is the apartment which is on the same floor as the one that I just decorated. Now for this apartment, I thought it would be really lovely to have a space where a mum and, in Sims terms, an object baby could stay. In real life terms, just like a baby, but I always refer to babies in The Sims 4 as object babies, because they're basically, you can do more interactions with a computer than you can with babies in this game. But either way, I still wanted to have somewhere in this build where, yeah, a mum and her little object baby could stay. And so this is the apartment for them. Currently, I'm trying to create, and I don't know what it's called off memory, but I know what I'm trying to think of. There's something when you have a newborn baby, potentially going into infant, where you kind of prepare milk bottles for them. I can't think of what it's called, but I basically tried to make it look like it was something like this. It's somewhere where you're meant to be able to put baby bottles in and kind of like sterilise them. I just thought it'd be really lovely to include it into this little kitchenette area. And so what I did, I found a literal lip balm lid. It's the name of the object. It's a lip balm lid that we got from the debug menu, and I sized it up so it was massive in comparison to the original size. I then rotated it 90 degrees, so it was kind of like an empty, almost like a vase, if you want to put it that way. I then found some Object Baby bottles in the debug menu, and then initially I was going to try and find something to kind of like put the lid on top of the lid so then you could still see the baby bottles that are merged inside of it, but in the end I just left it so there was no lid. But yeah, you would have seen I just placed down some baby bottles on the inside so it looks like somewhere where this single mum could kind of like sterilise the baby bottles. But also in that little room that ends up being again a nice little TV sofa area. We've got a love seat and then also a little TV on a console table. Currently though, I'm just coming in and decorating the bedroom in this space. It's very small, it's very tight and it's very squished, but I mean, there's enough space for a mum, or maybe it's not even a single mum, maybe it's a couple and they've got Object Baby and they could stay in here. I tried to purposely place down the bassinet right next to the double bed because in my mind I'm thinking sometimes when you have a newborn baby, some people like to have the baby's bassinet quite close to their bed, and so I just tried to do the best that I could with that idea in mind in this bedroom. Now, the way that people would normally place down baby bassinets in real life, they seem to be more so in the middle of the bed rather than one end of the bed. Hopefully you'll follow along with me, but with the way that The Sims 4 works, I couldn't place down the bassinet like bang in the centre of where the bed would be, because then your Sims can't get in and out of the bed, and so I just placed it basically by the pillow where your Sims would sleep. But yeah, it's just like a nice little space for either a single mum or a couple and a baby. But now moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the third apartment. So again, this is quite a spacious apartment. The one that I just decorated, if you thought that was small, now, you won't see the upstairs one, not this one, the next one, it's tiny. But again, I just tried to do the best that I could. But in here, I went for more of like a yellowy theme. I again use the same counters that I've used in the other apartments. So the ones that we got from the Home Chef Hustle Stuff pack. Again, I use like a tiny little mini fridge and then some sort of like countertop oven. I don't know what it's called. I don't really... Is it kind of like a air fryer looking thing? Hopefully you know what I'm talking about, but it's the same kind of object within this kitchen, and it's also a very similar floor plan layout as the apartment downstairs, the quite big one. But I kind of wanted to give myself a challenge with this apartment because I could have very easily just made it so it was the same exact floor plan wise as the downstairs apartment, which in real life I feel like this kind of housing situation would basically have the same objects the same way round. But in The Sims 4, I just thought it'd be fun to try and see what type of layout I could get with basically using the same sort of space. And so this kitchen ends up being on this back wall, just basically where the front door is as you walk into the apartment. Like I said, it's the same sort of thing. We've got the same counters, little mini fridge, the air fryery looking thing, and then in this living space we end up having 2 love seats. The other one, I believe, downstairs only had 1 love seat, but in this one there is 2. Again, like a nice little TV area, and then trying to make it feel like homey and comfortable and just very nice and just like family orientated. I placed down a little basket that looks like it's got loads of different cushions and pillows inside of it. Oh, and also actually something that I just remembered, which I tried to make a conscious effort to do in pretty much every single bedroom and then also living room space. You might notice I placed down a lot of radiators in this build. I did it on purpose because, again, going back to the kind of adjectives that I was given on the brief to describe the sort of living situation that these families ideally want to live in, they want there to be somewhere that's homey and warm and just comfortable. And to me, I know it's going to sound absolutely ridiculous, but please hear me out, it kind of reminds me of an adjective for a radiator, which I know sounds really silly, but to me, I'm thinking it'll be so lovely of an evening to, you know, come home and just pop the radiator on and get like nice and warm and jubbly. I know it sounds really silly, but it was just something that I was thinking of when I was building this, because turning the radiator on is just such a homey thing. Like, you don't go to a community venue and turn the radiator on. So to me, having a radiator in all the different rooms, in all the different apartments was just kind of, yeah, it was something that I was trying to make a conscious effort. I feel really silly saying that, but hopefully you get what I mean. But either way, as you can see, I just finished up one of the bedrooms in this apartment. For that bedroom, I tried to decorate it to be for a toddler. And then initially I was going to do it so there was 2 toddlers, but then I thought it might be a really nice idea just to have a bit of a mix, so it ends up being for a toddler and then also a kid. I ended up placing down, I think, 2 different rugs in that room. One of them was of like a really fluffy sheep. I just thought it was really cute. And then there was another one of, I think it's meant to be sheep and potentially horses. Both of them are from the Horse Ranch expansion pack, but I also placed down like a toy box in that room, as well as a little bear armchair that we've got from the Sims 4 base game that I thought would be really lovely. But you can see now that I am pretty much just finishing up this apartment by decorating that parent's bedroom. Now for that one, I decided to use, again, the Dream Home Decorator bed, but I tried to do it in like a light yellow colour swatch. To be honest, mainly because the living room area wallpaper was yellow, and I just tried to make that apartment yellow as a whole. But I just popped down the Dream Home Decorator bed in there, and then a little tiny living chest of drawers in the corner, because that bedroom was tiny, but it's not as tiny as this next apartment, which is the final one that I've now moved on to, which is an apartment that I decorated to be, again, for a single mum, but this time for a single mum and an infant. Now, I do feel really bad that this apartment is so small, but the idea that I had when I was kind of decorating this one was, well, maybe this single mum spends a lot of her time downstairs, maybe in the community area, and she spends a lot of time with the other families that also live in this accommodation. But once again, I did just want to remind you that there will be a donation link in both my description box as well as in a pinned highlighted comment from me to donate to Great Ormond Street Hospital via Tiltify if you can do. Like I said, the donations help fund housing like what you've seen me build today. Like these things really exist for families that are going through a really tough time right now, and the only way that they're able to really live in it is through donations. And so if you do have any sort of money that you have spare and it's not going to put you out, and you are in a position where you can comfortably donate even as little as £1, then not only me but then also the families will appreciate it so much. But other than that, I am going to go around this build, finish it off, and yeah, that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My gallery ID is JessicapieYT, or you can just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedrunning video. Bye guys.